Technologists for we're almost at the holiday. We are almost at the holiday, and I am fortunate enough to have my co-host, Mr. Jim Fuse. I need my applause machine. Jeez, we got to have our. But this is old hat. We're redoing it again on month 2 here at the Technologist Forum in this new format. So, Mr. Fuse, let's get right into it, man. Because I know you're doing good, so I don't even have to ask you that because you're always doing good. That's just how you live. That's just part of your repertoire. Is that the right word? I don't
That's a good word. That's a good word.
know. We wanted to talk today about and have a discussion. Again, these aren't interviews; these are discussions, and everyone in the audience put the cues in front so we can respond. But live streaming, digital streaming, content creation. We know YouTube reigns supreme. Right. It's hard stop right there. We know YouTube is the one where folks are pushing out to their communities and to their networks because it's the second biggest search engine on the planet next to Google. They all happen to be owned by the same company. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. However, many of us that have been in the game for a little bit and many of us that are building, again, networks and communities and relationships are starting to branch out into other platforms. And there are some platforms that are making some noise that really gotta make you think and make you say, okay, what's going on over here on case in point Substack, which is what we're going
Right.
to talk about today. Substack is doing some things really geared towards focus on creators, regardless of if it's audio and video. Let me start there, right? Because a lot of folks, I see your Mr. Chris Stone in the building right there as well, right? Audio file to the fullest. Started with audio. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I'm giving
He
him
is.
more
He is.
accolades on his LinkedIn profile than he probably deserves, but he's worth it. But realize that audio is was king, is still a good second. Video, Substack is bringing in the ability to do audio and the ability to be video and the ability to again proliferate that out to your networks and to your communities that are either paid for or not paid for. I know that you're using Substack. I know we're live streaming either. I hope we're on my Substack too. I know we're on yours because I see it
Yep.
right now. But talk to me about why you chose Substack as a adjacent platform to go live on and to build a network and to build a community on.
Well, I think first of all, I've been doing a lot of reading of, I guess if you've heard of these guys, the Category Pirates, Chris Lockhead, and a couple other guys. They've really grown on Substack. They talk a lot about things. And the one term that they use about Substack that I thought was really fascinating is Substack is a direct to creator platform.
Hmm.
Now, what does that mean? That means that one, I can connect with Dr. James Hicks, and now I'm in his community if I subscribe, and now we can have that building of know, like, and trust and relationship that I don't necessarily get on these other platforms. Because when I subscribe to you, you as the creator are getting my email. I
Yeah.
can tell how many people, I can tell your level of activity. I can say like, yep, you're reading all my posts. Yep, you're, liking my stuff, digging what's going on. And so it puts the pressure, I don't know if I call it pressure, but now us as a creator, like, hey, now I know who my people are. When we're on these other platforms, right? Sure, you put stuff out there, but it's like it's the algorithm is controlling it. I may not see your stuff even though I follow you. And so I think what made it take it up a notch for me, and I give credit to you and also to Ross Brand. Ross had started going
Mhm.
live, but he was just using it more like to share his podcast. But when you came on and Chris told me about it, and you're like, wait, you're using third party streaming tools? I got to see how this works because I can get around and get over the fact that, okay, maybe we can't do some of the things like, oh, but there's workarounds, right? If you want to get to it, like sharing comments to screen,
Yeah.
things like that. And I could see that coming. But I think the fact that once this video is done, we can take it and we can turn it into a blog post because I just spoke last week actually at Digital Wichita about how you can grow your tribe on Substack. And I asked, in the room, there was, 100 people in there. It's like, How many of you read the description or the show notes on a podcast or on YouTube? Nobody's hands went up, right? So we as creators are spending all this time on these other platforms, putting all these words in, thinking like, oh, well, I'm going to get all this extra juice out of them reading this stuff. Well, it's the psychological behavior of those are, video or audio first platforms,
Yeah.
and people aren't going and diving. But now I'm on a platform that started out as a blogging platform, for lack of a better term, that has added this extra capability. So people are like, yeah, let me read a summary of what they talked about. And if I'm intrigued, I'll watch the video. So to me, it's kind of the best of both worlds, if that makes sense.
My goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, master class is happening here. Please leave your offerings at the door for the Fuse family, for the Atlanta Braves, fanatic
Oh,
fan
oh, you
contributions,
had to, you
because
had to, you had to hurt my heart by talking
I
about
had to throw that one in there,
the
but you're
break.
gonna need some money to make up for everything that you're losing if you're betting on them. Okay, let me stop with that. But check this out, because you went through a lot. Now I want to kind of reel it back just a little bit. How comfortable are you? And I know I have my answer, but again, you mentioned about those analytics and the pieces
Hmm.
and the ability to see when John, when Chris, when whomever, when someone is looking at your post and engaging with that, how critical is that? It's a softball question, I know, but again, I want to hear your perspective of being able to see and know that that's happening, to know that something that you've written, that you've published, that you've posted clicks with someone in your network. Being
I
able
think,
to have that immediacy of knowing, hey, this note went out, boom, Tanya saw it and she's responded to it. Your
right.
thoughts on just that piece right there?
I think it's huge because one, it lets you know if you're on the right track.
Mm,
Two, it also, the other thing, if you want to call it dark webish, is you have the ability on Substack to direct message people. So, like, I see Tanya makes a comment. I can direct message say, hey, I really appreciate you sharing my note, or restacking my post. I know she restacked that we were going live.
yeah.
And I think the other thing you can look at it from the flip side is like, okay, I've got these people that they subscribed, but they're not engaging. Well, now I can email them, right? And say, hey, I noticed you're a subscriber. I just want to know, what would you like to see more of so that you would show more interest in my content, or what made you be a part of this community? Because I think sometimes, and I think, we're at that age, James, right? Where I'm not so much worried about having, thousands or millions of followers. I want to have the right people in
Yeah.
my community. So if you don't want to be a part of it, that's okay, right? Just unsubscribe. But for the people that are part of that community, I want to be able to communicate with them, and I want them to feel like they can approach me. And I think that's what I find intriguing about this. As I said, the guys from the Category Pirates call it the direct to creator, concept. That the other platforms aren't like that. Sure, I'm connected with you on LinkedIn, I follow you on Facebook, but it's not a direct connection.
Yeah. And I
And
think
I think
that's,
that's what's big.
yeah, I mean, that falls in line to what Chris was just saying as well, right? The monetization piece. Not everyone is concerned necessarily about monetization, because everyone's level or measure of success is different, right? Some folks it is those numbers, some folks it is those subscribers, those super chats, or those whatever the case may be. But a lot of us, true, we listen. We're in this for money.
Mhm.
We in here trying to look. Listen, we trying to keep the lights on here in California. So anybody want to buy some merch? Anybody want to subscribe to Mr. Fuse? We're doing this for our time is value. People pay attention to what they pay for. So we are looking for some financial uh, recourse in what we do. The fact that you can have paid for and not paid for, you can have paywalls on some of your posts, your notes, your content. This live stream, I believe you've got it going live right now just to your entire community. It's not behind a paywall. But
Right.
talk to us a little bit about, and you don't have to give out your whole backstory. But again, I don't want to see your W-2s or anything. But have you enabled some of the monetization aspects on
Yes.
Substack?
Yeah, I've got the paid subscriber thing activated. I have a few paid subscribers. I've got one that's a annual subscriber. I've got a couple of monthly subscribers, and I think the beauty in that, and where I want to grow that to, is that, as an example, because you can live stream, third party tools, you can actually live stream Zoom to Substack. So if you wanted to do a Zoom for your, paid subscribers. It could be a Zoom webinar, it could just be a Zoom meeting, and then you could post that behind the paywall for those paid subscribers that couldn't make it. Same thing. Summarize what you talked about. It could be a, ask me anything, or we're going to
Hmm.
have some sort of training on something that's important to your community. And then there's other aspects of paid features. You can have, the one thing I'll say about Substack that I like, maybe love, maybe that's a strong term for, a social media platform, is that you can share links and you don't get punished. You can, on your
Yeah, no, that
publication,
we love. Yeah, you go and say that.
yeah,
You know that we
yeah.
love.
You could sell mini courses,
Yep.
you could sell, you can have your affiliate links for the software you use. And so it gives you those capabilities that on these other platforms, they don't make it as easy. I mean, because even going back to YouTube, I mean, we love YouTube, and we've been able to get both Dealcasters and Men About the House are now monetized channels. But still, do people actually go in to the notes? It's like, oh, I'm going to click on this link to get this product. I don't know. I mean, we can do some
It's a minority
analytics
than
there.
as opposed to the majority. It
Yep,
really is. Yeah.
yep. But I also like that, one, you can have multiple publications if you really want to. And I'm
Yeah.
actually thinking about starting another one here in the not too distant future that's going to focus more on something that I'm passionate about, which is veterans issues.
Hmm.
And so I like the idea that I could decide, you know what, I'm going to interview this person from an organization that's maybe doing something for veterans, and it'll be out there on the publication. But I don't feel like there's that pressure of like, oh, I got to have a show every week, or you don't. I think that's where sometimes we get a little too wrapped up as podcasters and live streamers, like, oh, well, you've got to come out every week, or people are going to forget about you. That may be true on the other platforms, but I think with Substack, because you can augment it with the social feed of the notes, or with, just write a post about something that is relevant to your community.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like a video or audio first thing.
Yeah. I mean, the fact, just like you're saying, that you have multiple types of content that you can put out, right? So I started in this whole content creation world blogging, right? I'm an
Mhm.
old WordPress guy. And so
Mhm.
I'm the textual person, and I used to live in that for the most part. But the fact that I can do that if I want to, just kind of like you were saying, just rehashing what you were saying, or I can do a quick audio snippet. In fact, I could do a quick video. The fact that they've got a mobile app that is pretty robust and allows you to do all three of those types of content creation as well. I could be sitting in the car at the, well, I don't go to McDonald's anymore. Where would I be sitting in the car? Um, Maybe Panda. There you go. Little Panda Express. Shouts out
There you go.
to the little Panda. I'd be sitting in the drive-through at the Panda Express, and I can do a quick little update to the community.
Yeah.
Here's the catcher, though. Here, there's a lot of other platforms that are out there. There's many other platforms that are doing similar, and I'm not going to name their names. You can name them if you want to, or maybe we will, depending how spicy we want to be. But the barrier and the cost of entry for Substack is what?
Zero.
Say, hold on. Say that one more time for the folks sitting in the back of the room. How much does it cost to get started on Substack?
Zero.
All
Now, if
right.
you want to go live, you got to get 10 subscribers. But I don't think that's too far of a bridge to build.
You need 10 subscribers to get the full functionality of the platform, and it costs zero barrier entry to get in. Here's the catch, folks. Okay, I'm being facetious, but again, we're trying to take excuses out of this. Other platforms cost more to get in. They have a smaller subset of the number of subscribers, the number of members, the number of community functions that you can do. They take a smaller transaction fee as well. Substack does take, I believe it's 3%. It's either 3 or 5%, one of the two, from your sales. So I would much rather, and this is just me talking, I would much rather Substack take 5% of my transaction fee from a yearly subscription to my paid plan and give me everything unlimited, as opposed to you only taking 3% and it costs me $50 a month to get in a box. I'm just saying the math ain't math, and y'all check out Substack. I'm not affiliate. Maybe Mr. Fuse is an affiliate for. Maybe we need to be. We both leverage the platform, and we think that they're doing fantastic work. I'm not an influencer. You guys know that. I advocate for a lot of these platforms. And listen, just take a look at it. Don't believe
Yep.
us, but it's free. All it takes is your time to set it up. And once you get in there and get set up, let's talk a little bit about that, just the configuration piece of, because again, we know YouTube, we've set that up. We know um, what are some of the auto platforms. We know the Spreakers and the
Mhm.
Spotify's and the pod pages. It all, we know how to do that. But how was setting up Substack your for dealcasters and for Fuse marketing? Just kind of
It
walking through the
it
steps.
it's pretty simple because on the back end, right, when you decide to enable the site, and like we've done with Dealcaster specifically, and I'm gonna continue to add on to what I'm doing with Fusion Marketing, is you can create these tabs, and I'll tell you, right, if you wanna see how it's done right, go take a look at Tanya Smith's, Stream
Mm-hmm.
Like a Boss. But you can have a tab that is your YouTube channel. You can have a tab, like in our case, we've got our pod page. So when people click on that in your publication, it opens a new window. It doesn't like take them out of Substack. So they can kind of come back to that. And so I think that that's one of the beauties of it. Yeah, you might have to click on the let's see if it'll pull it up for you there when you get
Where's
to
it
her.
at? Because that, see, this is
I
this is
think
her.
I think it's might be where the little pink thing is there.
There we
There we
go.
go. So that's her
That's
site,
beautiful.
right?
I'll show you
Eh,
mine in a second, but my goodness, come
yeah.
on,
Well,
y'all.
once you look at that, I don't know if we want to look at anybody.
I don't even want to look. You don't even want to mess with mine. Branded to the nines, boy. She got the pink and God.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But if you were to click, say, on one of those up top there, I think she has one of those tabs that I think might be her website. It'll open up her regular website, right, where she does all of her things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you just and I know you're using your computer though, but you click back and you're right back on her site. So that's something I think is really cool. And then you can recommend other Substacks, and so you can see she's recommending some down there in the right lower right there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gotten subscribers on Dealcasters thanks to her recommending us.
Same with
And you
me.
get
Same with me.
those,
So
yeah,
shouts
and
out
you get
to.
those stats monthly from Substack saying, "Hey, here's where you got your new, some of your subscriber growth came from other people in the community recommending your Substack." So I think that is another really cool feature, because we always talk about like, oh, give people a recommendation on LinkedIn and how often do people do it. It's really easy to do on here. You can even say why you're recommending them. You can take it to that level. And I know Chris has a good question about, like, well, why is Substack, things kind of come and go. And that's not to say that couldn't happen here, but I will tell you, for me, I don't know if I call it the number one reason, but one of the biggest reasons why I like Substack is because I get the emails of my subscribers. I can download that
Yeah,
list. So even if Substack went away tomorrow, I still got that list.
that that's the goal right there. Right, the email list is the main thing. It really is, folks. Yeah, so here's the business lesson, and I just pull up mine, just
I
after
like it.
10 years, but it's just my little thing. Goodness gracious, we're building connections, we're building relationships, and it's platform independent. We're hearing a lot of things about people on YouTube, yeah, going after those dreams and goals of being a big YouTube creator, whatever the case may be. Fine. If that's what you want to do, build that network over there, build that community over there as well. But you don't own that.
Right.
You're definitely over there on rented land, but something like a Substack where you own the name, the digital collective.media. I own that name. I own every piece of content that I've written on here. I own the relationships, like Jim was saying, the recommendations that I'm putting out there. I don't recommend a whole gang of folks, but the ones that I recommend are the ones that I know my community will find value in.
Right.
And to answer Chris's question, kind of like you were saying, what's the big difference about Substack? Is because again, I have that email list, I have that name, I have that email address. So should Substack go away and I need to transition to someone else in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever the case may be, or I decide to build a community somewhere else, I have I have those crown jewels. I have your name and your email address, and I can make it a seamless transition for you to go to that other place. It's
Right.
not the platform. It's the access to the information. It's the data. I got that data. So I got
Yep.
Jim Fuse's email address. I can point him to digitalcollective.media, or I can point him to H&M merch.shop. He won't even
Right.
know the difference.
Right. And I think this is another thing, and this was what was so fascinating because this literally happened 2 days before my talk in Wichita, the Facebook group fiasco,
Mm,
where people with, in some cases, millions of people in their Facebook group, some of these big AI groups, and even people, with smaller groups, their group disappeared because of AI bot problem with Facebook. And unless you're one of these people that upfront had done the workaround to like get all the people's emails in Facebook, you lost everything.
that's
And
it.
that's not a comfortable feeling. And I think as much as we see things happening on Facebook, and this is another, and this isn't, well, maybe it's a little bit of a Facebook bashing. I don't really care.
I'm not
Um,
a fan of Mark Zuckerberg either. That's right. I
yeah,
said it.
yeah, that's right. But here, so think about this. One of the things too that drove me to Substack was that I think it was February. Facebook decided, oh, by the way, if you have live video, we're going to start deleting it after
Yes.
30 days.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
so it was already, they had already made it a problem going live in Facebook groups because now you had to, you couldn't use the same features you used to use, so you're starting to miss out on engagement. A lot of these people that aren't techie are like, how do I go live in a Facebook group? The
Hmm.
whole stream keys and everything else is making their heads hurt. And so it goes back to, you're trying to build a community. You want your community to be engaged. Well, I've been, advocating people that have Facebook groups should start thinking about moving their stuff over to Substack, because not only one can they move their community and build it there, get the emails, which they may not have now as it is, but two, they could actually maybe start to monetize and have a monthly subscription for those people that, because some people look at it like, I've always wanted to support you, James,
Yeah.
but there really wasn't necessarily a way within Facebook. But now I can subscribe to you, and maybe it's even that I feel like I'm getting that all-star treatment because when
Hmm.
I'm in the paid group, you're doing extra that you're not doing for the free group. And I don't know if you know Vincent Puglisi, he runs a group called Membership Freedom, but he talks about the stadium model.
Okay.
And the stadium model is like, you know, like if you came out here to a Braves game and you want to sit in the fourth deck, right, the cheap seats, you're only going to get so much. But as you move closer to the field, it's gonna cost more. So to me, that's where the paid subscriber model is kinda like that. It's like, "Hey, you're getting to sit in the better seats. You're gonna get, a little bit of, upgraded service that the people that don't wanna pay, won't get." So I think that's the other thing, because with groups, you really couldn't do that. It's almost like you had to take them somewhere else,
Yeah. Along
and so
along that line, I mean, because I think we're starting to get into some of the more specifics, and it answers fully this question from Chris, right? Because we talked a little bit about it already, right? Isn't Substack rented land technically, and how should creators protect themselves? Unless you are savvy enough and you want to take the time to build your own platform end to end, hey, do that, right? I mean, I can code a WordPress, I can code a site and
Mhm.
with my eyes closed. but the upkeep, the maintenance, the plugin, the patching, all that. The fact that, as Jim and I are saying, we have this capability within Substack to again have ownership of the name, have a platform that is pretty robust, that is continuing to evolve. I'll bring up a blog post off from TechCrunch just a couple of days ago talking about some updates that are being made to the platform. I would much rather own the URL, own the domain name, own the digital collective.media that I can attach to something like a Substack and then build off of that. I still, maybe I'm just confusing myself, or maybe I'm fooling myself, but I believe that that piece right there of owning the name, owning the content, and owning the list, that suffices, right? As opposed to,
Yes.
again, something like a Facebook where they tell you, yeah, in 30 days, your digital videos are going to be deleted. You can't go live here. You can't go live there. You got to let us sell your content to our AI bots and all that. That's just not something that's just like what we're going through right now with CapCut, right? A lot of
Mhm.
folks are reading terms of service and terms of conditions and saying, well, it's free, but it's not really free because
Right.
you put this information out there. We're going to sell it to train our AI models. We're going to sell it for advertising. We may actually make money off of what you created. I don't want any of that. Very
Right.
specific in terms of who I give access to any of that specific type of information. And the fact that I own that list, when you sign up and you subscribe, when you put your credit card number in, that's all secure transaction. I'm I'm responsible for that engagement at that particular time. When you subscribe or when you become a member or when you pay, I need ownership of that information, not Mark Zuckerberg, not
Right.
Elon Musk. I'm dropping names, bro. Okay. Chris, so Mr. Stone, hopefully that answered your question in terms of how Jim and I are going back and forth, kind of justifying our usage of a platform like Substack. Put it in the comments if we're not, brother.
But I think too, even to take it a step further, I agree 100% with you about like, yeah, I could go build a website, I could do this, I could do that, I could create my own group and a myriad of community platforms.
Hmm.
There's Circle, Heartbeat, Mighty
Yeah,
Networks,
a lot of
but
good ones out there. Yeah.
but the challenge is, and this is where I think Substack, as it grows, is helping us, is because you're in this app that has, you have access to everybody. Now all of a sudden, it's like people discover, like, oh, I didn't know about this digital collective. Where when you're on your own out in the hinterlands of the interwebs, now you're trying to find people. And I think what AI has done, especially with the rise of all these things like Perplexity and everything else, is people aren't searching as much. They're not
Mm,
going out and saying, I'm looking
wow.
for XYZ, because AI is already serving up an answer to them, and you may not be part of that answer. So you still have to have a way to connect with people. And that's where I feel like, I love some of the features Substack's doing. I know they're starting to create clips out of our videos that you can, repurpose. You can even put them on YouTube Shorts. I think I may start,
Yeah.
doing some
So
of
talk
that.
about that. I mean, folks, understand what Jim is just saying. He, I always talk about taking, and I apologize for stepping in
No,
while you're
no, this
talking,
is
but yeah,
this is good stuff.
I'm starting to get an older guy, and I forget things. So if I don't blurt them out, then it's all bad.
Right.
Taking steps out of one's workflow and automation to an extent where it makes sense. The fact that we're live on Substack right now, the platform in and of itself will create shareable assets that we can put out across social media that reference this content.
Yes.
You don't have to go in, recreate the wheel, make the wheel, do the work. The work is
Go to
already going to be
CapCut.
done for you. 2 minutes after we log off, you can
Yep.
we get an email that's saying here's 5 clips, or here's 5 audiograms, here's 5 images that you can save, that you can send to Instagram, you can send to Facebook, you can send to wherever. Man, that's, come on, man.
Right. Well, and even like what I did today, and then you may have done it as well, is I was able to go into my Substack and say, I'm want a live video post. using Restream so that I could stream this to my channel, and it sent an email out with the link and the date and the time to my list of subscribers
Mm.
that they could add to their calendar, right? I'm still not sure that any of the other platforms we use are doing that, right? So you're getting an email out, and you can even put in a title of what it's about, and I'm sure they're going to even advance that further. But even at that point, you can take that information, which is what I did. I took the thumbnail that you've created for this, and I made a note out of it, and I shared it, and you saw it. I tagged you, you shared it. Our friend Tanya shared it, so it's getting out there
Hmm.
in the Substack world, and it was really easy to do. And so I think, to me, that's another, I'll call it benefit. I mean, and even for us with Dealcasters, we've seen quite a bit of growth on our subscriber numbers on Substack. And I wouldn't say that we've necessarily put a lot of effort into it. It's kind of like it's growing. People start to see the live videos. We're repurposing it. We put our podcast is, it's that whole thing. I know Chris likes to talk about, um, you know, if you got a podcast, put it wherever you can. Well, here's another place you can put your
Another
podcast.
place you can put it.
Your
It's that
RSS feed is
recommendation
there.
engine, right? And
Yes.
that's the piece again. It They probably could charge for that. But it's the recommendation engine, just like you're saying, having access to the entire platform's users if they opt in, right? But you
Hmm.
can see other folks' information. You can be seen by other folks as well. I'm not sure if there was anything shady behind it because was saying uh, he heard that a bunch of creators got paid by Substack to come to the platform. I don't know. They didn't send me any money.
Right.
Now, I didn't get it. I didn't get a check, but I'd have probably cashed it if they did send me a check. But I am not aware of any under the
I
table
mean, I've
activities.
I've theoretically heard that rumor as well, but what I've seen more of, and some of this is obviously in the journalism space. I mean, when Terry Moran got canned from ABC News,
Yeah,
guess what? He's now on Substack, and now he's growing his community, and he's able to say what he wants to say and doesn't have to apologize for it. Same thing with some other folks, Jim Acosta and others. And so I think that's pretty neat how you can come out there and be, and it's the other thing of, um to me, it's where it's like old Twitter. Maybe X is still like that. You can choose who you want to follow. You can
mm,
choose
hmm,
to block the people that don't resonate with you. So you've got that, if you want to call it, safety net, if that's what some people need, in today's crazy times. But I just think it's pretty fascinating that you can quickly jump over, connect. I mean, I think even I might have even sent messages to some of these people like, hey, great to see you on this platform. And but on LinkedIn or somewhere else, I'd have to connect with you, and
you'd
then
have
it's
to
like,
be
are you
LinkedIn
trying to sell
Premium,
me?
right? You just send a whatever they call it, the LinkedIn message,
The
whatever,
in mail,
an
right?
in
Yeah,
mail. You'd have to pay the $70 a month. Nothing wrong. Okay, if you got to do that, you
yeah,
got to do that, and there is value in that. But
yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, I've heard, I don't know if I'd call it rumors. Maybe it's rumors. I saw someone
Man, don't
write it,
come
so I
around
don't know
here
if that
dropping
makes it a
rumors,
reader.
man. Now, hold on, let me get off
But
the screen if you dropping rumors.
but you've heard of Beehive, right?
Yes.
And so I had somebody say, "Well, I'm on Beehive, and and they have sponsors and all that." But I've heard that Substack may be looking into bringing sponsors to the platform as a option for us as creators. So once again, they're doing things that helps you as a direct to creator platform grow your business and monetize if that's what you want to do. Now you don't have to, but I mean, I got my wife isn't on Instagram, but she's on Substack.
Wow.
So
That's straight. Okay, that's interesting.
because she can, I can send her an article and she can read it, right? She don't necessarily care about seeing a bunch of random photos in a feed on Instagram.
Yeah.
And there's some good I mean, there are so many different types of information niches on the platform, and more come each day. And I think the other thing that's cool, and I think our friend Tanya is one of these people. I think her Substack is actually ranked in. I think is it in the technology space?
I
I
don't know.
think
She's fancy.
she
Yeah.
is fancy.
Let's
She is fancy.
let's not sleep on Miss
Yeah,
Smith
don't
there.
you
She's
can't
fancy.
sleep on Miss Smith.
Dang,
Yep.
gangster.
But
Man,
but she's been
I try to
crushing it.
get like that, but man, come on.
I know. Well, it's hard to be like her. She's quite the individual,
That's dope.
and
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And then that's so funny. What Miss Jill said about you flying out if there's
So you know,
controversy, but
don't
that's
let Jill
okay.
come around here heckling you and throwing you off your game. Though you know that she will
Yeah.
do that. And see, Jill has keys to the back to the front door too, right? So she may come in studio. So we got to watch out and watch our tone.
Ah,
Yeah, Ms.
okay.
Jill may come in, so she's always welcome to come in. But let's dial up. Let's get back to some of that right there. Just features and functions, capabilities. I like what Chris was saying. You know, and challenging us on our
Yes.
advocacy for this particular platform. You mentioned one, Beehive, which is one that's out there that I know a lot of folks use. There are other specific to newsletter platforms.
Mhm.
Kit, Kit is great,
Yep.
but Kit has again, it's focused on a particular deliverable. It's just it's got a different market. I tried Kit for a little
Yes.
while. I wasn't as it wasn't as seamless of a user experience for me. And again, this is just me talking as I'm seeing with Substack. Being able
Mm.
to from a mobile device, being able to push out content, being able to engage, interact from the ability to stream live from any platform, to bring in not just something like an eCam or a restream, but something like a Zoom is right. All of these platforms and the embedded pieces as well. Um, the text side, the note side, the video side, all of those things that matter.
Yep.
And the fact that I can write because again, like I said, I started blogging, I started on the WordPress side. The fact that I can create my newsletter and I can write my newsletter and it can be as crazy as I am. And right, I can bring in different types of elements into that newsletter. That right there just had me very excited. And that just felt comfortable for me as a transition from a WordPress to
Mhm.
being able to write my sometimes most of my newsletter posts are like 35,000 feet in the air. I'm in an airplane and I have an idea. I get on the Southwest Wi-Fi and boom, and I start writing. That's just what I do. And
Right.
the fact that I can do that pretty seamlessly and pretty easily with this platform, godsend for me. I would pay for it. I would pay for any of the meta platforms. If I could get rid of I've had this debate with folks before. I'm going kind of in a squirrel moment here, but I would pay for social media so I could tailor it to be specific to my needs. If I can cut out the ads, if I can cut out some of the
Yeah,
noise.
I pay for YouTube Premium on one of my channels so that I can watch videos without having to deal with
Yeah,
ads, and
yeah.
yeah, so I get
And
that.
that funny though, we're creators, we pay for premium because we don't want ads. But we sure enough got
But we
ads
want
going on.
you that's right.
Oh, y'all pray
We're
for
just
us.
that's just wrong. But see, here's the other thing, and I like how you brought up about the WordPress because I have, you know, my site is still a WordPress site, not my Substack site, but I'm like, it was a lot of work for me to update it. Where this is
Yeah.
like, create a post, boom, it's on your site. That's it. I don't have to sit there and reach out to my friend that created sites like, "Hey, I'm trying to remember how do I do this? How do I do that?" Or even more so with the video piece of being able to implement it into your site and your workflow. That's not easy to do on WordPress. That
Yeah.
takes some thinking and everything else. And I think that's another huge piece. I mean, and even from the perspective of you don't want to go live, you can upload your video
Yes.
to Substack.
Yes. I've uploaded and make some adjustments. Chris, I'll get to your statement there in a second. I gotta watch my tone and make sure I don't say anything negative because both my parents are watching the stream right now. So I just gotta I just Lord, I'm gonna get in trouble. Hey, so let's start. Let me start there, right? Let me preface right there before I go any further. So here's latest post that I wrote. GEO, the new SEO for the age of AI. Again, I wrote this 35,000 feet in the air. And the fact that I could pull in
Mhm.
images, I can write it. I can put a call to action for folks. I can
Yeah,
do all the things that I would have done on WordPress that would have taken me longer to pull in resources, to pull in assets, to pull in whatever the case may be. I can just spit it all out and then do and still do the same type of formatting, right? I get to do my paragraphs with bold and things of that nature. The fact that again I can make it look the way I want to make it look, then share
right.
it out to my community, fantastic. Now, what
Yep.
Jim is saying, I mean, I'm sorry, what Chris is saying is we don't look as
Polished?
polished. That's a good word. If you look at
Yeah.
us on Substack right now, it's kind of bare bones, is what he's saying. I'm hoping that they fix that. I am hoping that there's some more engagement tools that are being rolled into the Substack live streaming experience. Uh, the fact that hopefully it's not just an RTMP connection from our encoders of choice, that we can actually start embedding
Yeah,
and
and
seeing the comments, stuff like that. I'm sure that's coming, but we're just so early on in the game. What are your thoughts on this?
yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, because what we're doing right now is actually beta.
Yeah.
We not everybody has the ability unless they go out and ask for it to do what we're doing right now. Otherwise, you're just using the app and it's definitely bare bones. It's just you and the other person or persons talking and that's about it. But I think that gets into APIs, right? Like once they have an API, I'm sure companies like Ecamm and some of these others would love to be able to integrate indirectly, and we would love that too to be able to share comments that way. So I think it's coming. I don't see that as a complete setback because I think too, and I don't know if you've done it. I know Tanya's done it where she's using what's that program where you can kind of bring the comments in from just about anything?
Oh, Super Ninja or Ninja.
Yeah, one of those. Yep.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. So I could see that you've got that workaround, but I think sometimes too, even though we're not showing the quote unquote comments to screen,
Social
we're
Ninja, Social Stream Ninja. Yeah.
we're acknowledging the people in the audience,
Yes.
right? We're talking about their questions. And I think even when you see these folks that aren't even doing what we're doing, like when you see a lot of these people, the Midas Touch guys and some of these others, they're just coming on live. They're like 2, 3 people next to each other, and you can see they got thousands of people watching them live, people making comments, and now whether they've got a, you know, person in their ear like saying, "Hey, this guy just asked a question about XYZ," and you acknowledge it, I
Hmm.
think that's fine. I don't think it always has to be the comment needs to be shared on screen. I mean, you do. I guess right now you probably lose the comments once the stream is over. Um, it would be nice for them to be able to keep that because then you could go back and answer it after the fact. But I also like this, and this might sound crazy, and that's okay. Let's say for an example, and I may do this tomorrow since it's the 4th of July and I'll be at the Braves Orioles game. I could go live on Substack on my phone, just say, "Hey, I just wanted to say hi to everyone." And it'll go live on my Substack and then it'll go to my drafts. But the truth is I don't want to post it.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the fact that it's not automatic that whatever live you did is now on your on your page. So it kind of gives you that idea of like, you know what, I should just go out there and, which I guess is sort of like Instagram live, right? Where you would go live and people would talk to you. And then it's like, do you want to save this? Do you not want to save it? It goes into the archives. So I do like that. I think there's definitely some use case stuff for that.
Yeah. I think this is going to have a better retention level than IG Live.
Hmm.
Only for the fact I've done a few IG lives and they've actually been pretty successful. Right, I've done them at like CES and I've done them at a couple of conferences. they were successful in the moment, but there's nothing that you can do to manipulate them afterwards. And like you were saying, right? You could save a live at the game tomorrow, attach it to a note, add some context around it, save it to your drafts. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't disappear after it's done. So
Right.
being able to not just be tactical with it, but with the piece of content, but actually be strategic and actually attach something like calls to action or bits of more information, links, things like that. Just the fact that you can expand on just that one element of the content and turn it into something more, something else. I think that's going to be incredibly valuable because it seems like, and again, here we are squirrel mulling just a little bit. I don't know if Meta and Instagram are really paying as much attention, it seems like, to IG Live.
I would agree. And I think this is the other thing, and maybe it's because I'm not someone that spends a lot of time on IG as much as maybe I used to. And it's kind of like, remember when people are like, "Oh, I'm going to do a 1 hour live stream on Instagram," but I just don't think people go to Instagram with the mindset of, "I'm going to watch somebody on this little screen for
Hmm.
an hour." And so it's kind of like people like, "Oh, well, I could put my podcast on Instagram." Well, you could, but is it really going to do anything for you? I mean, and that's why you've got, platforms like YouTube, and of course then you've got, Threads is where a lot of the, I guess, people that are on Instagram that, but I can't figure out Threads. I mean, I'm on there, but it's kind of like I don't know, I feel like I'm might as well put a pencil in my eye sometimes.
Man, you sound like a old man. You sound like what are the
I
kids
am.
doing? The kids and you doing the
Yeah.
Snapchat.
Yeah.
You,
Well, but then you got TikTok. I mean, at least I think for another 90 days from what I understand
well, there
before
you go.
decision
There you
gets
see.
made.
That's one of the things as well. Hey, into trading with Steve, brother. Appreciate you being here. We are global now. I'm not sure if you realize that, Mr. Fuse, but into trading is
Oh,
coming from the other side of the planet, and
wow.
it's tomorrow.
Wow.
Dude, that's what
So we're in the
this is what we're
future.
doing. This is what we're doing. All right. That's how we're reaching folks all over the globe. But you're right. Think about that. So again, we were talking about rented versus own land and not putting all the eggs in a single basket in terms of platforms, just in case somebody goes away. Talked about terms of use, terms of service for CapCut, and now here comes TikTok again, kind of at the tail end of their possible utilization. Owned by the same company, owned by ByteDance, based out of China, trying to get them owned a subsid the U.S. operations owned by a U.S. company who sees we'll see what happens. Uh, I won't say the man's name because I never liked. I don't like the man. I'll just say 47. He's doing whatever he's doing. Um, so I don't want to put any stake into anything that person is doing. Read the terms of service of CapCut. I think it's kind of be the same of TikTok. I've had some decent success on TikTok as well. Listen, I got my merch store over there as well. I got a decent number of followers, but again, it just really does seem like it's a little rocky on that boat right now.
Mhm.
So I think smart creators, smart entrepreneurs, smart folks that are out here in these digital streets either are looking now or have already looked and have identified other platforms to where they can pivot and move their content to. So just kind
And
of
and
keep that in mind.
and James, let me ask you this question. So
Man, I got to watch what I say. So
I'm
I'm
gonna
never going to get too
I'm gonna
many
ask a question. I'm gonna ask a question.
brand deals from these
So
companies.
every once in a while, when I talk to people, as an
Yeah.
example about Substack,
Yeah.
they'll say, "But I've got all these people on these other platforms. Why should I come to Substack?" And I'm like, "Well, what if do you really have all these other people when you
Oh my
really think
gosh.
about it?"
Do you really have these people?
Yeah.
Are they the right people? Okay, I'm sorry. What was the question? Because I just
No,
started
no, I
interjecting.
think you hit it. I think you hit it. It's like, sure, you might have X number of followers or subscribers, but are you really connected with them? How do they connect with you further? Because all these other platforms seems like they really make it difficult to do. And of course, right? I don't even know what to think now with, I guess every video you put on Facebook is now a reel. I don't know what the hell that means, but
Yes.
I
I had to think about that. Yes. Post versus reels versus story. Everything is now a reel
yeah.
and longer in terms of so Long answer short, longer duration, has the ability to be monetized, but it, in my humble opinion, should have been done that way in the first place, as opposed to bringing all this confusion to the end users. Because again, reels can be longer, they can be in different aspect ratios, and they can be monetized if you have a business account or a creator account. That
Hmm.
so they should have done that in the first place instead of having three separate types.
Right. Right. And I mean, and even when you look at things like, views and stuff on these other platforms, I mean, a view is what, like a few seconds, I think. And
Yeah, yeah. So views are changing as well. The YouTube views are different. YouTube, and I don't know where we're going with this. Are you trying to? Is this an intervention session for me? Did I
no,
make you
it's not
mad or something?
intervention.
Okay,
It's just why
because I have this
it's trying to
conversation literally with myself all
explain.
the time.
Yeah, it's trying to explain to these people why they need to come over here to, well,
Yeah,
we're everywhere, but why you want to think about Substack. I mean, even I say, like, even if all you're going to do is create an account and follow other people, do that, right? Because it's like we
yeah.
said earlier, it's free.
I will say this, and to boil that ocean, I would say this: the engagement metric on a platform like Substack seems to be more closer to genuine and closer to reality, as opposed to some of the other platforms. There is
Mhm.
no, I am not aware of a specific algorithm.
Right.
All right. It is Jim clicked on my note. I see that he clicked on my note. I got an email from Jill. I got a subscription from Greg. It's just like that. The analytics are
Yep.
there and they're very clear. We see however many people are watching the live or the replay for our stream over on that platform, as opposed to again what YouTube has changed in terms of what a view counts for something like a short, or something counts for a long form video. What Facebook is doing with stories and reels and posts. What Twitter is doing. I'll always call it Twitter, never call it X, because I'm streaming on Twitter. That's where my largest community is. I've got a gang of folks over on Twitter, and we're streaming over there right now. And I'll continue to get a huge replay on this particular post, because again, that's where a lot of my community is. They don't comment though. Looking dead at y'all. Why aren't y'all commenting? But again, the metric for that in terms of a view and the engagement piece right there, diving into those metrics is convoluted and a little bit confusing. But what we see, you get what you see. The numbers don't lie from a Substack perspective, from my experience and my use of it. A view is a
Yeah.
view, an engagement aspect is an engagement aspect, an email, a subscriber, a member, all of that, a share, a recommendation. I see that instantaneously when it happens. I either get a push notification to my mobile device, and I get the email saying someone shared or recommended the digital collective out on their Substack, and I get that immediate feedback, and it's not confusing, it's not convoluted. It says what it says, and I know what to do, and I know how to engage with now those other folks if I choose to. So I think the
Well, yeah.
clarity in terms of
Yeah.
the usage of the platform is
Absolutely.
one of the things that drives me to. Because I just want things to be
And
simple.
where it reminds me of Twitter, and I will take it more specifically to Twitter list. You click
Hmm.
that following tab in Substack, you're going to see every note from anyone
Yeah.
that you are following on Substack.
Yep.
Period. It's not you might see it, you will see it.
That's it, man. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, there's more pros than cons from our
I think so.
conversation thus far. But
I,
I,
I don't know. Maybe Mr. Stone wants to tell us what the cons are. I'm still waiting. Other than he thinks it's gonna
come on, hey Chris, come
disappear.
on, brother. You got keys to the front door too. You know the code. Come in. Well, we about to go off now. We about to bring this plane in. But that was a good discussion. I appreciate you for being a part of it, and for giving your view, unbiased views, and for taking some of these hard questions from the community. That's what we do, right? We just want to bring
Yep.
some value in terms of the conversation. Was there anything else about Substack or other platforms, new platforms to reach community? That's the overarching topic for today's
Yeah.
discussion.
I mean, I've got on Blue Sky. I'm still not sure what to think. I would say the jury's still out. I mean, I still have my Twitter account as well. I probably need to start going out there a little bit at times, but I know it's not the same as it used to be. I think a lot of people we used to follow on Twitter may be out there, but there are a lot of Twitter cobwebs out there. Um, and then, well, you didn't say it was going away, but you kind of alluded that, well, what happens if it does go away? But I mean, the internet could go away for all we know. Um, but I just think that there's so many, what you got, what is it, Mastodon and all these others. And I've just said, I think my big three, I don't know about you, James, it's Substack, YouTube, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And the others, I'm just because folks, you can have a presence everywhere, but you're not going to be effective everywhere. So focus on what makes sense.
Focus on what makes sense. Had a pause there because I'm thinking about putting out a T-shirt. That's pretty good. I gave 2% of the revenue from that. That's
I'll
pretty
take
good.
it.
It's 2% now. It's cost of living in California is a little higher than it is. I think
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it
my
is.
eggs are a little more than okay. Um, John, what are you talking about here? John says, where does it end? 10 platforms, 20 or 147? Yeah, I know, but it doesn't end. When you think
Yeah.
about it, we continue to evolve, continue to get better. We put some stakes in the ground. And kind of like Jim was just saying, we put stakes in the ground with YouTube, with uh, LinkedIn just from a business perspective. So we kind of got to keep that one. And yeah, I'm really falling off of Meta platforms. I have no
Hmm.
desire for really much of anything on Facebook. I'm sorry, but Substack is right there. It's overshadowing and overtaking even my Twitter community, just because again the ability to engage and interact, and because I worry about Mr. Musk.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and it's
Bringing
interesting
in
you say
personal
that.
bias, I should not do that. I apologize, but again, I'm
No,
paying for stuff, so I'm
it's
gonna
a it's
bring
a
in my
it's a free
bias.
it's at the moment, it's still a free country. But I think to your point,
Amen.
I'm in the same way with Meta. I'm like, why am I on Facebook? I think if we could just get all the sports groups to just come on over to Substack, then I wouldn't need anything else. That's the only thing that gets me off of there is they don't do a good job of keeping up with some of my favorite sports and teams. That's an opportunity for them.
What do you do? Braves don't have a good following over there.
They've got a couple writers, but like the main actual organizations, whether it's the Braves or even when you look at some of the different NFL and all that. I mean, there's some of them they're on Substack, or I mean not Substack, Blue Sky, but they still seem to focus on Twitter.
Yeah.
I guess they're on Instagram and Facebook. I couldn't tell you.
Well, Twitter still is the social water cooler, right? It
Yes,
still has a huge value in terms of that platform for immediate, instant stuff. I'm not going to necessarily
right,
call it all news, but just stuff.
right.
The immediacy of it. It is kind of that. What is that? There was a video recording app that folks would take, like if they were at something happened, Signal, not Signal, but a Citizen, right?
Mm.
Where you can just record a video of something happening. But Twitter still is that. And again, I'm gonna continue to call it Twitter. Let's do this. That's so. Greg, I see you in the comments. We need to have this conversation next time Jim is here because I'm gonna call his name out. Johnny didn't show up for today's session, ladies and gentlemen. He's supposed to be here, so Johnny may get reshuffled here on the co-host list.
Johnny's gonna get fined.
Johnny gonna get a stern talking to. But I think that's a 201, 301 kind of a deeper level conversation that I think we can pivot into about platforms that we're using and why they matter, and should you start planting seeds on the mastodon? Should you plant seeds on the blue skies? Yeah, blue sky started taking over or started getting more attention when we we're getting more upset with Mr. Musk. I'm trying to watch my words because again, I don't want nobody coming after me. You know,
Right? Well, we talked about that before the show. You're all right.
hey, we did talk about that. Mess around and find out. Okay, listen. Um, let's trying to find out the organic reach on. Okay, we talked about that. Unless you're famous, that is true. 100% agree. Meta, it's time to go. One of my favorite Substacks is the Detroit Lions beat writer. Detroit Lions is cool. Okay, they're doing a
Yep.
good job. Let's do this, man. I want to bring this plane in. I'm gonna be cognizant of your time. Plus, I'm a huge fan of the WNBA, and I need to get over and watch these Indiana Fevers because we're not doing
Oh,
Team No
yeah.
Sleep tonight. So my priorities
Okay.
are around basketball. But you hinted at this earlier, and you aren't aware of what I'm getting ready to do. I want to talk about what it is that you've been doing throughout the day, this particular week, as it relates to something that really matters. Talk a little bit
Oh,
about Mission 22.
yeah. So Mission 22 is a nonprofit that's really focused on helping, support and stem the, projected 22 veterans a day commit suicide. And so they put out this 50-mile ruck challenge, and I was like, I can stick a pack on my back and to get 50 miles in a month, and so I'm doing it. And then I used my fun video relatable app to do some stuff, and so I'm up to 14. I got 36 miles to go. Do some more tomorrow on the 4th of July because why not do something patriotic to support our veterans on the 4th? Because there's other people I think that forget what folks like us, James, have done to allow them to have the hot dogs and
Come on.
barbecues and fireworks tomorrow. So um, I'm not going to forget.
Not gonna forget. So listen, if Lieutenant Colonel can put a rucksack on his back in that hot Atlanta heat and walk 50 miles, I think you can do that as well. I'm gonna put links to your page for your efforts and activity. I'm gonna put a link to Mission 22 in and of itself. I know you didn't know I was gonna do this, and I
I
came out of
did.
left field, but but you're trained, you're a professional, you are ready for any contingencies that come up in your way. And you probably didn't know I was gonna show this action photo of you
That's right.
out there doing the thing. This man is out there sweating, y'all. What? How heavy is that? How heavy is that pack
It's
you got?
a 20-pound weight in the back.
Oh, that's a good weight. That's good.
Yeah.
That's lightweight.
Yeah.
You got that.
I know. I'll go up eventually once I get in shape. Yeah, that's my neighborhood. You can see we don't have sidewalks in Atlanta. Or I'm in the suburbs, right? I'm in the suburbs.
Well, you over there. You over there where the lieutenant colonels live. You over there in the gated communities. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Technologist Forum. That right there is Lieutenant Colonel Jim Fuse telling his thing. Looking forward to you completing the rest of these miles for this effort. Looking forward to you dropping another newsletter, new platform on Substack, talking about your veterans activity as well. And the fact that we can do that, we can be multidimensional. We don't have to completely niche down like a lot of other platforms. We can show all dimensions of who we are, especially on this creative journey on that platform. Take a look at it. We know we live on, like I say, YouTube. We know we live on LinkedIn. We know we love our newsletters, and we know we love our email list, but you got to diversify and you got to be aware of things that are happening in the marketplace.
Yes,
Jim,
sir.
tell them, man, listen, folks, if you found some value, let me know. If you did not find value, blame Jim. Blame Jim. I'm just here, Wizard of Oz, behind the scenes, pushing buttons. So
Yeah.
appreciate you, brother.
Well,
Be good. Have yourself a great
yep.
holiday, huh?
You too, my friend. Happy
All right.
birthday, America. All
There
right.
you go.